Off rip, this game is already impressing me. All those painstaking details inlaid in Wukong's armor. Like my favorite series ever, our main menu transitions straight into the game. What are we, some kind of God of War? Okay, I know games like to start with the splash at the start, but oh my god, the 4 Heavenly Kings? 108,000 Li, here we come. The badassery that Sun Wukong is. I imagine this is some of the first exposure to who and what Wukong is to many of us in the West. Seeing the Celestial Court bring everything to bear against just one monkey tells us everything we need to know about Wukong's power level. Needless to say, dude is OP. Plucks a single hair to make sure the destined one comes about.
My master, safe. The scriptures, sound. All I ever wanted was a life in my mountain, free from you and your so-called merits.
I love the simplicity of this story, even if it can be very hard to follow for someone like myself who had no context going into it. Dude just wanted to live a life free of shackles, and he was just so cool, and kind of a miscreant, that the Heavenly Court did everything they could to contain him.
Those high above don't trust me. I understand that.
As much as I would have loved to see an entire game with a Wukong that speaks and has all his memories, game science cooked in this opening sequence, and the few animations that characterize him exactly as depicted in Journey to the West. He doesn't like the Heavenly Court not trusting him, but he can't really blame them. Wukong's impulsiveness in combination with his cunning is a recipe that the power that controls can't stand to let free.
But what I don't understand is, you bastards killing my kind!
Wukong is basically the East's Spider-Man, as in the most popular superhero, that all kids want to be when they grow up. He'll take all the blame, punishment, and responsibility for himself, but draws the line when they step out of it.
Killing my kind!
Vine TikTok boom? It's pretty close. I guess this game really was made by a Chinese developer.
He's not just any monkey. He's a monkey of merit.
Giving your foe respect, but secretly just gassing up your best bud. Find you a friend that'll kill you and create a 500-year plan to resurrect you. Get you a friend like Erlang.
None other than me can challenge him to a duel.
I love this deception, especially for those unfamiliar with Journey to the West. You'd be forgiven if you actually believed Erlang was Wukong's enemy. Wukong's and Erlang's reputation for combat is the perfect way to force the Celestial Court to hand over control to Erlang, to make sure their plan succeeds. I also can't sit here and not acknowledge the elephant on the forehead. What the f is that?
All these years, except for that pig, you're the one who talks the tallest tales.
Bajie shadowing.
If I pluck your extra eye out for my snack and allow you to keep the other two, because I'd hate to let you miss how I'll slaughter each mongrel of the court.
Mark Takashi Oda brings it as Wukong. His confidence, his swagger, and his more jokey side. I wanted more, and I really hope we see him again, even as just cameos in future Black Myth games. So we don't have a health bar, probably because this is a tutorial, but also the plan here is for Wukong to lose, but make it look good. So what's the point? But if we're to consider biblically accurate Wukong, dude doesn't need a health bar. He's the definition of, nah, I'd win. But the, stuff coming out of that thing? Am I winning the sauce this early? I think I'm winning the sauce this early.
The idea how many would give their everything for immortality.
Immortality? For that word, all realms and beings have ruined themselves.
Almost every word of this opening sequence is dripping with meaning, foreshadowing, callbacks. It's incredible how efficient every line of dialogue in this game is. Not a word is wasted. I'm guessing that's the benefit of bringing in Shang Wu, the author of the most famous abridged version of Journey to the West, titled Monkey King, into this game. A very helpful book to understanding just what the heck is happening in this game. Alright, yeah. I get it. I want to be Wukong now, and we're only 8 minutes into the game. You know I love me some center framing.
Your edge needs honing. Good. I was in need of a back scratcher.
Does it get more Wukong than that? God, what did I just give to play a direct adaptation of Journey to the West? You Wukong transforming into a concubine and all. Man, did they give me good. I thought this was just one of those fights you're supposed to lose, but can win for some extra reward a la Sekiro. But even when we win, we still lose. Love the misdirection. I just love that. You think you threw Wukong out of range? Nope.
Oh, monkey! Taste my axe!
This is why Wukong is the GOAT. What kind of one-liner is that, Erlang? This is just the start, and I'm already loving it. Chinese myth is brimming with so many amazing stories and outlandish characters. Yeah, they could just turn into birds, and we all just accept it. I'm going to try to do my best going throughout to explain what is going on with each chapter and the overall themes and points being made as best as I can, while, of course, giving you my greatest thoughts on the game. I'll caution you, I'm no professional, and one book and online research can't compare to the hundreds of other videos covering this game or growing up with the culture and Journey to the West as a whole. But it would be a disservice to the game and story of Wukong to not discuss it. I always get a kick out of when the camera struggles to find and then zooms in on fast-moving far objects. Zack Snyder loves to do this.
A hero who treasured his freedom above all else.
Hey, not just that. What is this revisionist history? He literally was chilling with being tamed until they started threatening his people. But yeah, he beat through caring about his freedom. This is a beautiful time-lapse. It's more the growing tree than the passing of the seasons that really hit home just how long it's been since Wukong was with us.
Buddhahood he attained, yes, but cumbersome he found the celestial rules, for he yearned to come back and to revel in the simple joys with us.
Oh, I love that. The thought of it sends a wave of feeling over me that I can't describe. To reach the top of the mountain, to achieve immortality, and yet the only true fulfillment someone as legendary as Wukong found was with his people. Wukong even jabbed Erlang with this earlier.
For that word, all realms and beings have ruined themselves.
Does anyone else see a skull in the stone that houses Wukong's mind? No way that's not intentional. Especially as it's Wukong's mind that was sealed inside this stone. Ah yes, Wukong's most famous transformation. Peach. Quick aside before jumping into the game as a whole. I love that the menu changes based on what chapter we are on. It's the little things that count and add up to becoming a Game of the Year contender.
No matter how many times you come around, you're still as mischievous as ever.
Hinting that we are not the first destined one to walk this path, and confirmed based on which ending you get.
Blackwind Mountain have long been waiting for your arrival.
Check that rack focused. We all inherently understand cameras, so for the team to make their camera moves imperfect with the struggle to find the focus makes this feel all the more authentic. They have the tools to make it perfect, but choose not to, as it would feel uncanny if they did.
You've forgotten this place, but they haven't forgotten you.
This is Wukong, and it isn't. Constantly will be back and forth between characters either respecting who he truly is or dismissing him as just another monkey who will fail to live up to Wukong. Our first real boss, given a health bar now, but just become a dude later on. I love that sense of progression.
It's good enough against boneheads like this one. Anyway, just consider it an ace up your sleeve.
I will, and I will never take it off for the rest of the game. Taking some inspiration from Tsushima's haikus, I see. I love these little moments, achieving exactly what they are. A little reprieve from getting stomped over and over again. And a spark. With how many skill points there are, we're gonna need them. Oh boy, everyone's first wall. Thanks for the false sense of security, game science. I think we all threw our heads against him, just as he did us until we took him down. And why might this guy in particular be so strong? Well, the Black Bear Guai, after the burning of Guanyin Temple, and Jinchi dying, he attempted to resurrect him into this stitched body. Failing to do so, we're left with this restless, powerful spirit, hence the crying, still in pain over his mistakes. And Jinchi died by hitting his own head against a wall on Journey to the West. We get to see that in his spirit ability, and even funnier that we use his ability later to break down a wall. Before you ask, yes, I waited till right before the final fight to do all the side quests, so that's why I'm so OP now. But Guangji was a disciple under Jinchi, and in the end cutscene we see Jinchi offered a kasaya, or robes, for ordained Buddhist monks by Tang Monk. Guangji wanted the kasaya, and devised a plan with later boss Guan Mao to kill Tang Monk. Mistakes were made, and the entire temple burned, killing many but Tang Monk because, like, fireproof mantle. With intense regret, he dedicated himself to the mountains and forged this fiery blade as a constant reminder of his transgressions. This entire first chapter, and much of the game, is centered around the greed of man. This game has a real ebb and flow with its bosses. One moment you'll be struggling your ass off, and then face roll the next one. Going from Wandering White to Lingusi, what the fuck, Lingusi? We're gonna go with Lingusi. Going from Wandering White to Lingusi felt like a reward, as dude barely puts up a fight, but looks 10 times harder. This Lingusi isn't the real one. He was appointed this name by the Black Bear after the real one died. It's a roundabout way of giving one immortality, one could argue, and this Lingusi eats his fellow wolves who don't capitulate to his authority. Trust me, this is relevant. Black Myth Wukong is a Souls-like. An easier one, but it is. The story takes place after the main events have transpired. We've got refillable healing at checkpoints we must ignite, bosses that rely on iframe dodging and learning moveset and RPG upgrades. Oh, we even got spirits a la Elden Ring, which you should totally check out my coverage on that game after this one. But not only that, it's borrowed things from other action RPGs such as God of War, Jedi Fallen Order, and even a bit of Metroidvanias. Bringing all these things together make for a bit of a more casual experience and a more clear sense of progression, which in turn makes me view this game as one of the more perfect ways to get into the genre. Okay, hear me out. Like, this is just new God of War chests, and I'm okay with that.
I know a way to guide the souls, mend their paths, and set them free.
I missed this line my first time through, so I thought we were just imprisoning all these Guais for our own purposes. But no, we are following the wake of Wukong and setting things right, like freeing Elder Jinchi's spirit and Black Bear Guai's hold over Blackwind Mountain. As badass as Wukong is, he wasn't perfect and made many mistakes, along with others taking advantage of his relics.
This humble one's name is Guangmo.
Guang Mao is the one who fanned the flames with his wind that Guangxi set alight to kill Tang Monk. Notice the winds that he appears through, referencing that.
Braving immortality, Yao Guais surely will conspire!
Referencing him and Guangxi's plans. So we ring these bells throughout Chapter 1. After ringing all three, we're finally granted entry to Blight Town. Wrong game. To go back into memory and confront Elder Jinchi. And Journey to the West, Wukong was a menace, as always, and after arriving at Guanyin Temple, began ringing the bells during prayer, which drew out Jinchi to see what was causing the ruckus.
One more monkey from Mount Huaguo. I've met many of you.
Keeping in line with the Soul's inspirations, in a weird way, all of our playthroughs are canon with each other. All of us playing some destined one. Many of us are restarting the cycle of becoming the next Stone Monkey. I like it. Okay, you might not believe me, but this was the hardest boss in the game for me. Not having the Red Tide's transformation was rough, or any other tools was rough. It took me about an hour to beat this dude off. Let me know down below the like button, which boss took you the longest to beat off? Here lies our poor real Ling Jusi, who died and was brought back by Black Bear, with the side effect of an insatiable hunger for his fellow wolf's blood. Being a good guy, and unlike his successor, strung himself up. And just like a Souls game, this story is not easy to follow, even with the context of Journey to the West. You massively benefit from really tuning into every line of dialogue, and more so after watching the chapter-ending cutscene. Between all that, you finally get a good idea of what the hell is happening. And if you didn't do that, like I did my first go-around, you will be lost. But that's a testament to everything about Black Myth. Though I had no idea what was happening, I couldn't stop playing. After ringing the three bells, we finally face down Jinchi in the burned temple remains of Guanyin Temple. Notice how he's now golden, eyes are closed shut. Jinchi was corrupted by greed and is coated in which was his downfall. He was also buried with all sorts of coins. Even in death, he couldn't let go of his treasures. And his eyes are shut, closed to the truth around him and what truly matters. Each of the relics we collect correspond to the Buddhist concepts of the 6 roots, corresponding to our 6 senses. That can be corrupted by the material world. This chapter is the relic Craving Eyes. Jinchi's eyes were laid upon Tang Monk's Kasaya, couldn't help himself, and needed to have this material, which led to his downfall of him and his temple.
Still one shot without his. Stop. Leave it. Just leave it. Stop the fire. Please stop.
Ugh, watching him turn to ash and seeing in his final moments, he still obsesses with this one object. It's tragic. Learn from him, folks. And then we get the fire mantle that Wukong brought into the temple to protect Tang Monk. I enjoy that each of the vessels help out with a final boss, and I wish I knew that before never using one till the very end. Don't you just love how every enemy just about gets their poise back right as you're about to drop the light attack finisher? Like, I get it. It'd be too easy to stun like everything. Gets us to use other tools and dodge around, but come on! I know you felt the frustration too.
I have rebuilt the temple. It was I who granted them eternal repose.
I love an antagonist who is the cause of everyone's suffering, to now believe he's their savior. Like, bitch, if it wasn't for you, none of this would have happened.
Still think you're rock solid.
Not yet, but maybe after a certain boss in Chapter 2. I haven't gone into much depth in the boss fights themselves too much, as I'm going to save that discussion for the really good ones. There's a lot of bosses in this game, and we'd be here all day if I won and talked about each one. But since we're here, it's great to have a preamble to the final showdown of this chapter. Getting to learn to dodge the wind attacks before the real challenge is great design. And if you didn't know, this is actually Black Bear Guai's human form. I legit thought I missed a secret boss in him as it be bear at the summit. Was confused, but no longer! What, in the ancient one? Ah yes, giving us a gauntlet to test out our new toys. I sometimes miss the cute days of games giving us unlimited mana and chumps to destroy to test out our new abilities. This is progress here, and better, but I still miss it. And though Black Bear says he's rebuilt the temple and everything's better, the peak of the mountain seems to burn perpetually, as an evermore reminder of that black day.
Out of sight, out of mind is a fool's task. Seeing but seeing through is what wise men do. But didn't he turn mad by what he saw too?
Now we see his true intentions. I believe Black Bear wanted to rule the mountain for himself. He knowingly poisoned the eyes of Jinchi to lead himself to this moment. The final line, I believe, is a Black Bear original from the actual saying that ends with wise men do. This echoes Yellowbrow in Chapter 3's cutscene, seemingly trying to prove a point that even an anointed monk can fall prey to greed when presented with such finery, which goes against a core tenet of Buddhism, which is a relinquishment of the material, or at least an abiding from it, lest to control you. Facing this boss now with all the context of what transpired on this mountain took what was an already amazing boss fight to a whole other level. I was content with just beating up a giant black bear and getting some cool levels, but understanding the story woven in throughout, the way it was delivered, its peak. Game science doesn't just lay it all out there for us like we're children that can't understand a damn theme or take a second to think about what we just experienced. This is a game that respects our intelligence. This feels like a reference to how Wukong took down the black bear guy, transforming himself into a pill to be ingested and then fuck up his insides. Like...
Choice! Who dared to challenge the mighty wrecker of the Celestial Palace?
He had not the nerve to harm the great sage. There must be someone else pulling all the strings.
Yeah, the Celestial Court. Hell, even Black Bear gets his own cute little tiara like Wukong. This is where I knew the game was something special. These cutscenes are nothing short of incredible. We follow Wukong's footsteps and see the aftermath of everything that transpired with him and clean up his mess. Then we get to learn exactly what happened through these cutscenes, in the most beautiful artistic show-don't-tell way, every time. The introduction of greed to Jinchi. Children are very malleable at a young age and can set the course for someone's entire life. If you ever do something and in a joke half ask yourself, why am I like this? Just look back to those years before high school. Everything might make sense. The song here is titled I See. I think you know what I'm getting at and the irony behind it all. The imagery is off the charts with this first cutscene. Even as an adult, the lesson of the black bear still looms over him. God, I love this. As Jinchi admires the Kasaya, the shadow of the bear looms again and turns to black smoke. The Kasaya adorned with flames and then turning against Jinchi, igniting the temple. Ah!
Why does Elder Jinchi still cling to that one Kasaya?
Bereft of that Kasaya, how shall they show the world their ties are cut and their lust is quelled?
And that's the great irony in Jinchi. To establish that he has finally cut mortal ties to others as an enlightened monk. He must wear such fine robes to represent that. However, if he doesn't, how will people believe his status? But if he does, wouldn't that go against being indifferent to external desires and materialism? Jinchi needed to be known as an enlightened monk. It wasn't enough for him just to be so. We see Wukong viewing the burning, as in the original story, he knew all along this was going to happen. He purposely requested the fire mantle from the Celestial Court to protect Tang Monk from the flames, to teach Jinchi this lesson of Buddhism.
Stumble on the lesser, lame. Crash before their betters, shame. With such clumsiness, what destiny do you claim?
So the old monkey who spoke to us about Wukong's story in the opening narrates over a mural of each chapter's related story. It seems each chapter has some mistake, or the like, that the old monkey is trying to rectify in the destined one, to be better than Wukong ever was. And in just one chapter, we've already spent more time talking about Wukong than my first video of this year. But more than many other games I've covered for that matter, this boy is dense, and I know I'm going to still have missed things. Oh hell yeah! From the depressing trial of Jinchi to jamming out with our new best friend Lingji, who is handling being headless far better than I expected. Taking a page out of Journey to the West, which sometimes can feel like a monster of the week with its chapters, where you just finished the Black Bear and who knows what the hell happened between then and now, but there's a ridge of archers and it didn't go well the first time. Let's game! I'm going to focus more on gameplay systems here in Chapter 2, as it's probably the lightest on story elements of any chapter. The RPG and progression systems in Wukong really surprised me. I went into this game pretty much blind, just knowing the Souls-like and has Monkey. The depth that can be found here is astonishing compared to my expectations. Chapter 1 starts so humbly that by the end, I didn't even know which way to take the Destined one. I really appreciate the many different build paths you can take them, using very niche fire or poison builds or following the kiss method and just slam stancing everything. And not just the equipment providing player expression, but the breadth of talents to acquire. I was overwhelmed at first, before realizing half of them are just stat improvements, which calmed me down. In a single play, I imagine most people will end near level 100. This is enough to max all your stance with some stat boosts. Or like me, just pick one stance and go hard on the stats. But in the end, I really felt unstoppable and like Wukong himself. And to top all this off, 3 respecs. Oh my god, I don't understand why some games want to make it so hard. Just let players have fun. I'm looking at you, Elden Ring, not letting us roll back upgrades on weapons. Or having to find limited larval tiers. What the fuck? I digress. I found myself constantly reigniting early on before I settled into a playstyle I absolutely loved, and the game just clicked. I'm sure we all had that moment. For me, it was when I hit Thunderclap Temple. Mobbing around there is when I fell in love with Wukong. When did it click for you? Chapter 2 is where the exploration of this game really opens up. Not so much it's overwhelming, but enough to gently guide us to what to expect with the rest of the game. Looking around corners and finding hidden areas, Chapter 1 really walked, the rest of this game could run. Frogs. The damn frogs. Ogdo Bogdo wanna be having asses.
How wondrous!
Ah yes, our favorite drug dealer. Dog. Like, that's kind of actually his name. I'm not even making a joke here. Dude straight up had me like,
Tight, yeah!
when I found the celestial medicines.
Dire times.
The animation work for the Destined one is top tier. All of the quick spins of the staff are so fluid and beautiful. I can't imagine the amount of work it took to make them look so good. Even in slow motion after a boss, they look almost perfect. With how crisp they are, I almost forgive Game Science giving us basically one combo for the entire game. We've all been there. Too many damn times. Wouldn't be a Souls-like without his moments, yeah? Man, they really had Slowbro stretching his ass to hammer it home.
Not for men or livestock, but listed in the remains of our kin. Curse that furry jackass!
So, the story for Chapter 2 basically boils down to a coup and a blanket-wide punishment for the king of the Flowing Sands banning Buddhism in his kingdom as he felt jealous over his people worshipping the Buddha more than himself. The Buddha sent the beetle Fubin as retribution for this act, which is when the Yellow Wind Sage stepped up to help defeat the beetle and was hence honored by the king, allowing Ratwise to live among his kingdom as equals. The kingdom were humans once. In response to this blasphemy, the Buddha then transformed the entire kingdom into rats, and the entire society began to crumble. Wukong himself didn't play much of a role in this story, and the most that he did was kill the Tiger Vanguard's father to save Tang Monk and dip. You followed me? With all that stated, what's the point of it all? I like to see it as once again showing the whole fallibility and even hypocrisy of maybe the Buddha? Am I going too far? Or maybe just Buddhism as a whole. The king banned Buddhism because he wanted to be the center of their worship. And the Buddha punished him because he wanted to be the center of worship? That might be a bit reductive to the enlightenment the Buddha holds, but you get my point. I suppose that Fubin was an attempt to guide the king towards enlightenment and not retribution for its own sake. Wukong allows us to miss things, which is great for replayability. Killing the second prince first doesn't allow us to get his spirit, which I find kind of neat. We help guide lost spirits home, and when he watches his father die in front of him is when he's sent into a rage and can't rest easy. Every chapter has a couple of side quests and a main vessel side quest. They take the Souls approach to it all and have everything just be through dialogue and memory. No quest markers or GPS pointing out where to go. The Assassin's Creed Shadows video is going to be a very interesting contrast next month. What I love about Black Myth is that we are constantly getting little bits and bobs. Some material here, some will there, a mind core under there. Little hits of dopamine and progression abound. There never feels like there's dead space in this world. It's dense, and every square foot is used to the fullest.
Gullible one! I finally got my hands on the treasure!
They made this fraud a literal pirate in the localization. He sells you a treasure item for double what it sells for. Like, what the fuck? This is why we beat the shit out of him. PSA, if someone steals from you and you are legally allowed to beat them up and steal their skin for future use. This transformation literally saved my Erlang fight. This game should actually be called Black Drip Wukong. This monkey be styling on everybody with each fit. I greatly appreciate them going the God of War direction with this equipment. All gear can be upgraded to viable standards, making nothing irrelevant. And when you upgrade them, they look even more badass. Makes every purchase feel like an investment. Now, what I can't get behind is limited materials. Why are there a limited number of bullhorns and celestial ribbons? Nope, I don't really want to do New Game Plus runs anymore. Let me max my shit out before the final boss. Ran over, sorry. Great game. Love the bull armor too much is my point. Yep, this is a Souls game, all right. We are given the Wukong Classic Pluck of Mini right before facing off the Tiger Vanguard. This is actually more interesting placement than you'd think. In Journey to the West, the OG Tiger Vanguard, it's actually a title, peeled his own skin off to create a decoy of himself to accost Wukong. Only fitting now, as we get to take a piece of ourselves to create decoys to murder Tony. What solitary confinement does to a motherfucker. He was opposed to his father when he granted the rat guy citizenship and plotted to take revenge. I love how he only turns to his son when he needs something. These cheeky bastards hiding the blood pool and just barely showing Shere Khan's tail whipping about.
Where'd you come from, you bird-faced mug?
Bro, what? Have you seen a mirror? This is the best boss fight in the game, bar none. The arena is badass, a giant tiger, and there is something about his moves that just feels very honest. He's big, but humanoid, and no other fight felt as much of a dance as this one did. All of Tai Lung's tells do too. The little growl here, when he says, "Raise!" The jump in the air is such a fun moveset to download. I actually lied. Thunderclap is when the game as a whole clicked for me, but right here is when the combat clicked. Realizing that stagger locking is the path to victory, I felt like a monster after learning this. See what I mean? Dance. And this is the moment Zanny and many others wet themselves. Stay with me, y'all. Parry! Love that guy. This goofy ass. I love him, though. Like I mentioned earlier, there are just stat increases and everything abound to make us stronger. This game is Souls-like, but doesn't feel like we're fighting uphill tooth and nail just to get through. We're freaking Sun Wukong, basically. We kind of just are at that dude. Wow, look how incredible the tessellation on the sand is. Even the staff has a hitbox for it. Incredible attention to detail.
I cannot escape, and nor can you!
So, little bro here that we actually helped back out in the Fubin quest was granted one of Wukong's relics, Fuming Ears, or more aptly, directly from Chinese, ears hearing rage. When you look around all that has transpired here on the Yellow Wind Ridge, you find nothing but anger and revenge. The tigers, both the Mad and Vanguard, take out their rage on the rat populace. The humans turned rats, angry with the Buddha and the Yellow Sage. The Yellow Sage at the fact that he's a pawn in the Destined One's journey. It's why he's locked himself in these winds and has desolated the surrounding area, attempting to attune with the relic to escape his fate. And let us not forget Lingji, angry with Yellow Sage for, removing his head and trying to use it as a vessel for the relic. Yeah, I think that'll do it. And supposedly you're supposed to get the Wind Timor before the fight to make it easier. I wish I knew that, but to everyone's surprise, I'm actually good at this game. Took him down first try by the skin of my teeth and was quite proud.
You stole Erlang's spell and snatched the Great Sage's relic. You even took your master's heed. Just for a short reign over this barren valley.
Another theme we can find in almost every chapter is that each final boss tries using Wukong's relics as shortcuts to power. Every single one. And each one subsequently is defeated. More easily so when the Destined One brings along a Buddhist vessel. You can almost view him as an unwilling arbiter for the Buddha, going through the lands and culling those who have seceded in their beliefs. 80/20 audio composed for this game, and holy shit, are some of these tracks just incredible to listen to. Full of regality and hope at times that I can't help but just feel whole in my heart. Music so proud it feels like golden rays shining on me. Yes, I just said that. But just when I thought the game was already something special, they throw out this banger of a cutscene. The stop motion animation here is incredible and just shows the dedication to artistry to abandon the style that all the cutscenes in the main game have used. Me too. If I had a furry girlfriend pop up in my bedroom in the morning, my loins would be singing like this music right here. I love the censorship of the candle and the moments later like she was a blue freak Navi. Everything seems so beautiful and perfect until you finally see that lamp that just looks a little bit off. Or your wife eating your son. I think that would get me freaked out. Yeah, that would do it.
Men, beasts, Buddha, Yaguais. Each of them bears a distinct root from birth. Superior and inferior. None should disturb what's decided. Am I right?
So Lingji poses the question of basically, is everyone's role in this world predetermined? Is a man, a beast a beast? Can one truly change its nature? We see this fear in the cutscene with the fox returning to its nature and devouring the man's son. The man killing and skinning the fox as his role as a hunter. We can also see this in the yellow stage of chapter 2. He went from hero defeating the Buddhist Yaguai Fubin to eventually revert back to the scheming, thieving, violent rat that Lingji expected of him. This also sets up chapter 3 with Yellowbrow's philosophy, that all men have greed and anger in their hearts. All you have to do is show them. This is funny because the first 2 chapters cover the first 2 Buddhist poisons, greed and anger, and then Yellowbrow completes the trinity with delusion. We'll talk more about this in Yellowbrow the deeper we get into chapter 3. And just like the start of chapter 2, who knows or cares how the hell we ended up here or why? Game science be treating these transitions like,
it's me, I'm here, deal with it, let's move on.
The macaque chief is a direct corruption of what Sun Wukong brought them up to be. There were 2 of them in myth, both subordinates of Wukong. After his death, Yellowbrow took them, and what we see here is the aftermath, a warning to the Destined One if he is to fall off the path of enlightenment. Or if you really just want to theorize, I find it more fun to think that this is an ex-Destined One, especially considering we get transformed into one later. And this entire story being about the journey to enlightenment, I can see the temptation of being lured by Yellowbrow's promise to be a test for the little monkey. Yes, I'm aware that they are different monkey species.
Faith and devotion, quite the notion. Yet how many can claim a mind so pure, still, and sure?
Yellowbrow desires Buddhahood. He believes his new faith, built on the backbone of power, exploitation, and manipulation, will bring him there. He has delusions of grandeur and obsesses over being Buddha so much that he creates a knockoff of Thunderclap Temple. You know, where the actual Buddha resides? Notice the detail of the snow falling off in stop motion. Just a neat detail tying us back to the cutscene. So this isn't actually Melon Baby, as I will call them. Yellowbrow and his seed sack took their form and was so vain that he couldn't take off his favorite golden gazaya. God, he is just so cool. The way he casually stares down King Jinlong with that hunched look. Okay, so this boss, spectacle, 10 out of 10. Actual fight, 4 out of 10. As it's more about learning when and how to hit him and fighting the camera than actually fighting the boss. So, points for making thrust stance have more of a place in this game. Yep, this is a fighting Souls-like. But are you really an action-adventure game if you don't have an obligatory prison section? The bosses don't stop being innovative in their designs. I was always looking forward to what possibly could be next. Weird mutant church bells certainly wasn't on my bingo card. No freaking capping, fellows. This enemy type is harder than most bosses. Killing this guy took more tries than Red Boy, Yellow and Sage. I beat Stone Monkey and Great Sage first try. What the hell is this guy juicing on?
Keep at it. You could melt into blood and pus.
In Journey to the West, Wukong was trapped inside the symbols and would have turned to such in short order. And in the book, it was King Jinlong who bore a hole into the symbols to release Wukong, deliberately aiding him. We get a little bit of a shakeup from having the Destined One murder the heck out of her to accidentally bust out Pigsy. My favorite comparison I've heard about this game is that Black Myth Wukong is to Journey to the West, that God of War is to Greek mythology, on how it is treated and retooled for their own narrative. I like this comparison more because the game doesn't try to beautify Journey to the West. It's called Black Myth, after all. We see all the characters for their shades of gray, and there is no easy good guy to point to. Religion is complicated, confusing, and often contradictory. And Black Myth Wukong goes through the tremendous task of trying to be honest to its source material while progressing its own story and ideas. This is only the beginning for game science. Those who know are so freaking hype right now. The music respects the shit out of him and then slaps us with some bathos of him just being a cute little guy falling down. Perfectly in line with the kind of guy Bajie is.
Blasted eyesore. Wasn't even worth my second glance back in the court.
Bajie was quite the ladies' man back in the day, and through their violent flirting and this line, he shines. I imagine everyone who knew the story is wondering where the heck he was. He's absent for almost half the game. Wukong's biggest companion, and I kind of like that. We're given time to get comfortable as the mute Destined One. Then, all of a sudden, this wisecracking pig shows up. It fills the void that Wukong normally would fill himself, and I like that. Having 2 mischievous miscreants would be really fun, watching them bounce off each other, but it's equally enjoyable having a mute stoic constantly bail this rascal out of situation after situation. Remember when I said this game doesn't care if you miss things? You can straight up miss this game's hub in upgrading armor. It's quite incredible what they've done with the balance of the game, as I'm sure quite a number of people never found this place before the end. I almost missed it myself. Black Myth doesn't hold your hand, and I appreciate that. I like this fight. Yin Tiger is a freaking beast. Such a badass transformation when you get him. Also serves as a pseudo-testing ground for abilities and builds, as we can challenge him over and over again.
Worship my hoof. Visit temples, kneel to figures, tell no black from white. That's my master. I am fed up with all these skin-deep rites.
Bajie is a breath of fresh air. He's just one of the boys, annoyed with the powers that be, but not openly antagonistic towards them, or just, like, indifferent. I'd be pretty miffed too if the court took my boy, stuck him in a stone, and Horcruxed his ass.
Chubby one, we've done the rites.
I need a DLC with Wukong and Bajie. Please, Game Science. I know you've had 13 chapters planned for this game. You've got to do more!
Where's the path?
The path? Isn't it always there?
I love how shitty Chubby One is. The path of Buddhism isn't found physically. It's always available if one has the mind and heart to look and follow. Bajie is just a bit too based for these intangibles.
Fooling us all along! Take my rake!
I wonder why people were surprised when Bajie relishes the death of Ping Ping's mother. Like, dude be trying to kill people because they're annoying. Probably try to kill me. Ooh. Ah. Anybody remember the turn of the last generation? All these games introduced sliding as big mechanics? I don't know, I feel like we take a lot of these little things for granted sometimes. It's the little things in these badass games that make them so great. Boss foreshadowing, and then you'll get through the entire section and wonder where the hell the boss is. Secrets, secrets, secrets! I gotta talk about this dude and his earlobes. Pushed my shitbox in for real. With only 2 legs, I felt on the back foot. But this man right here, he led me to enlightenment. There's a reason this location is called the Valley of Ecstasy. It's not Yellowbrow. No, it's this man right here. Using his spear right before ending a combo and then light finishing was my bread and butter for the entire game. This is like having an assist in a fighting game. Extending combos and buffing all your physical stats. Non-able is the Buddha! Another captain that was disoriented and bent to the will of Yellowbrow for coming to try and stop him. Sticking him in his seed sack and all. And that's exactly what it sounds like. Corrupting him by doing so. This temple is not monkey-sized. Have you seen how big Yellowbrow is? It's not big for big's sake. It's practical. Black Myth was made in Unreal Engine 5, most obvious from the gorgeous global illumination. But my grander point is that you'd be forgiven not knowing that. The art direction is so beautiful, sound, and original that it washes away any stink that some games inherit from being on Unreal. I'm sure you've all heard the complaints of games just looking like uninspired purchase assets from their store. Game Science understood the assignment and the engine they were working in. Being in development for 6 years, I'd hope that God they figured it out. And let's talk about development real quick. Take a guess how much this game cost to make. 70 million USD. That almost feels like pocket change with how much video game budgets are ballooning. Looking at games such as The Last of Us 2, Spider-Man 2, Red Dead 2, what the fuck is up with all these 2s? Or even Halo Infinite. All of such games cost $200 minimum, with the latter 2 hitting $500 million. Outrageous costs. While Black Myth keeps its budget in line and produces a product that doesn't just hold up in fidelity, but also story, gameplay, and cultural impact. Everything. I almost feel bad for taking so long to cover Black Myth. Glad I bought it before it's going to start costing 10% more. That's a joke. Don't at me. This goofy little baby gnawing on some watermelon. In the novel, Wukong transformed into a melon, got eaten by Yellowbrow, and once again beat another enemy from the inside. What is up with Bro and Vor?
They say you are the destined one. But if destiny is set, what difference do our actions make?
An impossible question to answer in stories like these. I like to view it in this context that there is no set destiny. We can become the next Stone Monkey or Sun Wukong. And we have that freedom to choose. With how powerful the Buddha is and teachings of Buddhism, it may seem that everything is set, and it's all a part of the plan. For people to believe that to keep things how they are. Just take a look at anyone that either rejects Buddhism or tries to remake it in their own image. Violently suppressed. Or just ignored in the case of Yellowbrow. Dude gets off way too easy. This complex is massive, such a beauty to explore. So much to be found in it. Like I mentioned earlier, this is when I fell in love with Wukong. Not only was it a great farming spot for me to get some levels, but housing tough enemies to really learn the ins and outs of how I played my monkey for the rest of the game. And they just had to make a boss version of him. What the fuck?
Why then do we tower, whilst others merely kneel and offer? He asked. I told him the others are less than us.
I thank Chapter 3 for being a bit more straightforward than the first two. Yellowbrow just got that dog in him and sees himself above. He's deluded himself that no one should ever rise above his own heights, that through straight power manipulation that he can attain Buddhahood. This is why the relic he takes on is on the nose. The hubris nose. That's the relic he gained from Wukong, and Jinchi can smell his bullshit from a mile away, whose Jinchi will get there. Well, I'm fucked. That was always my game plan. If I can't immobilize a target, I panic immediately. Like a with a gut like that, there's no stopping him.
My sack awaits misguided souls.
Bro, don't say that. Monkey hesitates here. I wonder if on a subconscious level it's because this chief used to be one of his own, and before we strike that final blow, we're transformed into the chief. Yellowbrow has a way of corrupting those who follow him, and shows us what we might become if we go down the wrong path, or tries to corrupt us with the power that this form yields.
Like that. That's who you are.
Yellowbrow also taunts Monkey for the actions of Wukong, who was no saint. The Macau chief actually impersonates Wukong, and they fight together, no one able to tell the difference between the two. He also kills him in the novel. Here, it seems we set him free as we gain his transformation, and together take down Yellowbrow, correcting that mistake from Wukong.
Let me quench your thirst for blood.
This is also the part of the manipulation that Yellowbrow does to those around him. The seed sack itself corrupts, and this is all an attempt to gain the Destined One to his side, and he almost does. Just look at how I couldn't help myself. Current gen games are incredible. Just there to the right was our last boss arena. Now we're in this little dollhouse fucking around, and both look just as good as they did viewed from the other side. Yellowbrow used golden pearls and blood to manipulate the hearts and minds of the people in the fishing village in the cutscene. Here, in the fight, he believes the same riches will protect him in battle. Thunderclap Temple. Uses lightning. Pretty cool, not gonna lie. Also, appreciate the edge walk. No character looks as drippy doing it than Monkey. What I love about the Yellowbrow fight is that we've either got to toughen up and wait out the gold stance or figure out how to smash through it, and it's completely on us to do so.
Keep fighting for others, and in time, you shall fall by their hands. I, Yellowbrow, fight solely for myself.
Neat how Yellowbrow's convictions almost align with Wukong's. He does fight for himself. He rallied against the Celestial Court's control, and it got him killed. But Wukong also fights for the people of Mount Huaguo. The difference is the faith they place in those others they fight for. Yellowbrow has seen the darkest depths of man, Gwais, beasts, Buddhas, even if he manipulated those feelings. Seeing himself above them and why this hubris is his downfall. That's why he was the one who had taken Wukong's hubris nose. So, from what I could find, this fish is a big symbol for unchecked desires of wealth, which is a big theme for Yellowbrow and his beliefs, that a human life should be indulging and acting upon desires, which is in stark contrast to the teachings of Buddhism, as from there we learn that desire leads to eternal suffering. More on this in the cutscene. This is Yellowbrow in disguise, trying to prove a point to Jinchi. You can already see how he views humans, showing us that you can spit on them and they'll still love you if you give them material wealth. I mean, hey, I get spit on for a couple $1 million. And I love the contrast that this form is so grotesque and yet the people still worship him. I was expecting a new animation style for every chapter. We had what feels like older, more stripped down animation and style, then stop motion, and now what feels like what we find in modern anime, and that carries for the rest of the game. There are slight variations of style, but the last 4 feel much closer than the first 2 due to each other. Oh, this music goes so hard! Something feels off to me about this. The way the man seems drunk, this shot of Yellowbrow, it looks almost like he willed the man to attack him, thus triggering the mob. This is part of the manipulation when he wasn't getting the result he wanted. Remember, the fishing village was starving and didn't just kill the turtle spirit right away for food, nor when discovering his blood is pearls and gold, and nails medicine. They didn't purge him for all he's worth. They respected him and worshipped him, doled out his gifts evenly, fairly, and honestly. For a time, showed the goodness in him. You could also argue that those in charge kept the bulk of the wealth for themselves and used trickle-down economics to help the poverty line, thus keeping them in a cycle of having just enough. What are your thoughts on this cutscene? This shot is pretty damning though, and hits hard. You've seen Black Friday footage. We know we are capable of this, even if we never want to admit it. This also shows the short-sighted nature of humanity. We don't live forever. We crave immediate satisfaction, and when struggling, we need help now. Don't kill him and he heals, and you have an infinite money glitch. But who wants $1,000 once a week for the rest of your life when you can get $1 million now? One deal is obviously better than the other. And it's not everyone. Some seem to be praying and very disturbed by what's taking place. One's ability to control one's desires is what separates human from beast. These stills are horrific. There's even one of men pissing on the fish that just made them rich. The happiness they display juxtaposes so starkly the carnage they're inflicting. I love it.
I proved it to you, Jinchi.
You chose a means to an end, not to a proof.
This is the man I've been talking about, Jinchi. These two have constantly been in a philosophical battle of where humans would sit on the totem pole and what their true nature is.
You sow chaos in hearts just for the sake of winning. How absurd and pathetic.
If not for winning, why debate over means and ends?
That shit is so raw. He's right. And it echoes back to the first chapter, the great irony being pointed out in this game. Jinchi with the Kasaya to establish his position. Jinchi tries to illuminate the holes in Yellowbrow's logic, and vice versa. If Jinchi is so enlightened and knows, why would he engage in this debate in the first place? Just like how the robe shouldn't matter to Jinchi. Gosh, these cutscenes have been enough to crack. This is the type of game and subject matter that I could infinitely write about and still find new things to ding it up for. So help me out. I'm not a professional in Buddhism, and I'm a Westerner just trying to learn these stories and the religion for the first time. Trying my best to understand them and make them digestible for you guys. If I have or made any mistakes, correct me down below. Expand upon the things I might have missed. Would love to read them.
Those who are high and mighty found their minds lost and their faith stained. But was it truly because of their devotion to Yellowbrow?
Putting a button on this whole chapter is it in our nature to have power corrupt us or outside malicious forces? What are your thoughts? So in the back half of the game, I don't want to say there's a drop off in quality, but it definitely feels different. The stories told here get a lot more personal with Wukong, the Destined One, and Bajie, moving away from the philosophical battles we have with the chapter's antagonists, which I kind of prefer. I've been wanting to get to know these characters so much more, but I'll touch on quality as we get to chapter 6. I don't believe I've mentioned the super diverse environments yet. Each level be feeling like an aspect of the Airbender. Seeing the trends starting in chapter 3 got me excited for whatever the next one will be. What the hell is that laugh? Dude loves a good bit.
Or she would certainly enjoy a splendid show we've prepared for her.
More often than not, the English dub is pretty damn good. Took me a while to even realize the lips aren't synced for English, and going over to Chinese, and oh, it's money. Sounds so freaking good, especially Wukong in the opening, played by the same actor.
Yao Guai's care about reputation. All she cared about was lust.
Bajie's love story we learn after this makes scenes like this so heartbreaking. The two wanted to be together and after are just using the pain as shields, forcing half-truths to make the hurt not as bad, such as her only caring for lust. I mean, yeah, dude, maybe a bit. I saw your little freak scene with her later on, so you're not no Boy Scout either. Oh god, I'm sorry for any of you arachnophobes out there. This entire chapter is just gross and made me itchy. So game science?
Well done.
Bosses like these are my favorite, just straight up punching bags. This game really makes you feel like Sun Wukong.
Bugs are bugs! Wearing human skin can't change your gross nature!
Yeah, sure. We are so low compared to you, a glorious admiral of the court.
Ugh, so they both throw insults so low at each other. Both just merely victims of the Celestial Court. Bajie being forced to endure 1,000 heartbreaks after catching the Jade Emperor's infidelity. And Wukong kind of just murdering all the Spider Sisters, and the Violet Spider misunderstanding Bajie's new condition. More on that in a bit. Cute that each of the Keeper Shrines are all themed for their chapter. Not just visually, but the entire design of each chapter takes on a new layer. 1 was very linear and introductory, 2 opens up just a tad for some exploration, 3 goes crazy and is the biggest one of them all, 4 brings in maze-like verticality, 5 brings us back to 1 to calm down a bit before 6 letting us fly. Can we talk about the sound design? Everything is so satisfying. The wind blowing by the speed of our staff, the metallic crashing when we slam down, the echoes of everything in this cavern. Good sound design is invisible, but when done well, you pay attention to the crunchiness of it all. You learn to really appreciate it. Yep, this is for sure a motherfucking Dark Souls game. That actually got me the first time. Made my stomach drop and jump all at once.
Well done.
Day! Big day!
What the? These heads remind anybody of the bouncing heads from Spirited Away? The Kashira?
Hurry, hurry! They're here!
So excited about the wedding.
And playing this for the first time, I didn't understand any of this. Now, with the context, you can understand why the music underneath this is so melancholy. It's heartbreakingly beautiful. So I counted all the markings on the sisters and mother's foreheads, and it looks like we got 8 prominent marks, just like 8 spider eyes. And the one without markings has 2 next to her mouth like fangs. The rest don't. Spiders, they be. This was hell. Why they gotta bait me in here with a chest? Why you like this game of science? Bajie is put under a spell to fight us. Violet Spider blames us for Bajie's inability to stay with her, as he's the most loyal brother the Sun Wukong ever had, which we know isn't the truth, as Bajie is protecting them from the court by not acknowledging them. This is her attempt at getting back at us and taking Bajie for herself. Fucking amazing camera work right there. As Bajie reverts to his smaller size, the camera drops lower on him, giving the illusion of him appearing the same size to us as he grows smaller. And sometimes when homie is pussy whipped, you gotta beat the shit out of him, you know? Bros before hope.
You're the one who ruined it all!
But I also like the idea that this isn't just a spell to make them fight, but a spell that brings out Bajie's repressed feelings. He likely has always blamed Wukong to some degree for his inability to be with Violet Spider. We get to see it all flow out now. These bros still funny though. Ugh, Bajie even turns into a fish just like he did when he first approached Violet Spider. God, I love all the little references in this game to the source material. Give me more Chinese myth games! There is so much there! Him seeing what he used to look like is such a long time, must be so difficult to process. The music welcomes the moment triumphantly, that he shouldn't forget where he came from, and that he's still the same man even if he doesn't look it. In a classic Journey to the West fashion, Bajie can't not stay captured. And the armor we get from him is called non-pure, as if to suggest that his actions are not, were not, or that everything that Bajie is now was born from impurity. Looking at you, horny Jade Emperor.
Dear, is that true? That thing is in your hands.
Unbelievable. Even now in your heart, the monkey still comes first.
I don't feel like I should be watching this. It's like watching your parents fight.
The monkey? Nah, for me, beauty always comes first.
Good. Carry on with these nice words.
They can still joke and laugh at each other. You can still see the spark of love between them.
You wicked hag! Can't you see your old face? Still obsessed with all this lovey-dovey crap at this age? Ridiculous!
Maybe I spoke too soon. Dude knows what he likes, I suppose. I know why he's being so cruel. Chill out.
Monkeys, the bane of my life. Why do you always have to ruin my plans?
Yeah, Wukong, what the fuck? It's not exactly that everything he touches he destroys, but he normally comes out untouched, leaving a wake behind him for others to deal with. You know I gotta win the level 4 charge slam, right? And the Destined One isn't outrightly trying to kill these spiders like Wukong did. This time he's trying to make things right and just wants to rescue Bajie at a minimum.
Get off myself!
Nope. So the Purple Cloud Mountain secret area at first feels very detached from what's going on in Chapter 4, and for the most part, it is. It's all sort of just an event ripped out of Journey to the West for the sake of it. Almost. Thematically, what is happening with the Duskvale and the Scorpion Lord is what inspired Black Myth's twist on the Violet Spider and Bajie. I'll keep it brief. The Duskvale is an experiment gone wrong by the 100-Eyed Taoist. The Scorpion Lord had a wife who left him, captured Tang Monk, and tried to force a marriage with him, much like Violet Spider and Black Myth. Duskvale killed the Scorpion Lord's wife with a violent call, and Scorpion Lord wanted revenge on him. And the Needle Vessel was made by Duskvale's mother using his eye before becoming the Duskvale, and was used by Wukong to defeat the Taoist. Hence, why Sexy Snake Lady is about to repower it using his husk. Secret areas, called obsessions by the game, have all been neat little dives straight into direct Journey to the West lore, and I can't imagine how much of a treat it is for those that love the original story. enemy my enemy is my friend. Fighting alongside the sisters is pretty based. This dude was kind of a freak, seeing the experiments he was doing in Yellow Temple in the Duskvale. Bonus points that his health is lowered every time we face him, as if the spiders were there to help us each time. I told you he was a freak! Out here with that gluck gluck! This fucking hurt me. This is my first ever attempt at him. Just enjoy myself here. This was my second attempt. Bitch ass got me with the same move. Third time's the charm though, baby. No needle. Would have loved to have known having the vessel before each fight would have helped. Not a word spoken, and we can imagine the struggle happening here. Facing down his only true child with the woman he loves, knowing that he cannot be there for her, and all that's separating them is a field of flowers.
You haven't changed a bit. You fool.
And that reaction from Bajie, doing everything he can to stop the tears from falling. He cannot be there for her in her final moments for the curse the court placed on him, and to protect them if the court would use them as leverage against Bajie. There are so many beautiful center framing shots. I know, I just gotta win another. This relic is Envious Tongue. Violet Spider was full of envy for Bajie's loyalty and love for Wukong, and the Taoist for Wukong's power. We see Bajie chasing this woman, seemingly a beautiful prize, literally atop a mountain to yearn for. And anytime he stumbles chasing her, he falls in front of Violet Spider. She's always there for him, every time he falls, no matter what, even when he's not giving her a second glance. Notice her forehead makeup. Even so many years later, as an old woman, she kept that makeup the same so Bajie might recognize her in the next life. That's true love right there. Even in this form, she recognizes Bajie and only sees the handsome man he's always been. Bajie shows his true form, either to scare her away as self-adulation for his hideousness, or to not keep any secrets from her. She in turn shows her true form for what he took upon once learning of his affliction, so he won't be alone in his. The rub is that the words pig and spider are very close to the word zoo, and comes down to pronunciation to separate the two, which is why she chose this form so she could join him. That's not true love, I don't know what is. And Bajie uses a rake, farming, and Violet Spider webs, weaving. These were common gender roles for ancient China. And we see them mate, fight, love for the last time? I'm believing in the last one, as these next shots are heartbreaking. We see Violet Spider go from human to spider, and Bajie from pig to man, showing that all Bajie can see in her anymore is the spider guy that she's become, and yet she can only see the handsome man she's always loved underneath the pig face. This is Princess and the Frog, folks, and Bajie is vain and insecure and cannot overcome what has happened to them in the name of love. So he decided to abandon her and shack up with his boys, Wukong, Tang Monk, and Sandy. Sad shit. This whole song is a duet between basically Bajie and Violet Spider. It's this final lyric that cuts the deepest. Singing on when they meet in the next life, the man sings, "I beg you to say no," and the woman, "Please don't say no." That doesn't make you feel something. There's no hope. There's no hope for you, or me, or the world. So, another chapter, where the fuck are we and what is happening? I do enjoy just seeing our two boys tear it up together, though. Sometimes you need some of that after a harsh breakup. Red Boy shadowing. Setting the penultimate chapter in the desolate, flaming mountains, I think is perfect. We get to see all of what Wukong has wrought in his wake. He's the one that set these mountains ablaze, by the way, and good contrast for the lush final chapter. And the new enemy types for every chapter. Yeah, they reuse bosses in a chapter sometimes, but every chapter has distinct enemies and I love that. Keeps things fresh and we're constantly learning. I've skipped over lots of things to focus on the main narrative throughout here, but there is so much in this game. To imagine they wanted 13 chapters initially is insane. Like this random ass boss. He's got so much lore just about him and his placement is perfect for it. But we can just kill him and move on, and that's okay. But the game invites us to want to dig deeper. Why is he holding a skeleton? Why is he guarding this gate? Well, the short of it is, this girl was a companion of his, fell off a cliff and died. He held on to her and brought her to Rakshasi to resurrect her. When he was denied, he clinged to her still, never giving up hope. This is why he cradles the body and always guards it with his left arm. Bro, what the f is this?
Quite the charmer, aren't you, boy? But these eyes have seen prettier disguises.
Does little bro here see through Red Boy's disguise? Does he not press the issue to see what's more info he can attain? I like the beat when Red Boy thinks he's made, though.
My mother is Princess Fairfox. You killed her!
The zoom. Dude can't even remember who the person is that he killed. Classic Bajie. I don't want to say I'm a furry, but...
My brother was kind to me and to our parents.
Need to show Red Boy as she mentions him.
Down. Really, with soft hearts, they could never harm him.
You idiot! This fox is fooling you!
Or is this Bajie giving who he calls son later a teachable moment? Ah, not even Wukong could escape the tight tunnel loading screens. Granted, there are only 2, maybe a couple more. I can't even remember being in this game. Next gen, baby! Even though it's been next gen for 4 years, it still doesn't feel like it. Okay, they almost never reuse enemies. Still a great feat.
You just want to trade my fan for a smile on your brother's face.
Bajie is pretty much on the money, but instead it's Red Boy wanting to trade the fan for Red Boy's smile. Graphics have kind of maxed out now. It's all about lighting and physics. Just look at the way that sleeve falls and bellows.
The destined one, who doesn't even know what he's destined for.
Brother, I don't even know what he's destined for.
Just like when we're up there.
I never thought that one day you'd be the only one I can rely on.
Knowing this is Bajie makes this delivery so funny. So goofy and over-the-top switch that Rakshasi would never do. Guy's having the time of his life.
Come, sit with me, and tell me what to do.
And so patronizing as well.
Have you no shame? Mother, don't be fooled!
Funny how everyone but this dude is fooling somebody. Red Boy is Ping Ping. Bajie is Rakshasi. Destined one is a Cicada. Our guy just wanted some love, and he's the only real one in this room. Now this is a boss arena. Transforming some random throne room into this is far more interesting. Also, did anyone expect there to be so many fights that take place in water? I thought the staff and armor from the White-Clad Noble would be super niche, but it is not! Yo! Was not expecting the Bull Demon to be mountain-sized. This game is awesome.
Don't worry, his thick skin will protect him.
Yeah, Ping Ping, I was worried for a second. It's moments like these that I appreciate fixed camera games. This would be the perfect moment to pull out completely and just make us a tiny dot on the screen to appreciate the scale of this scene. Like the God of War trilogy. Not a win for this game, but a true gaming win. The little detail of Monkey getting ready with his staff. Red Boy's initial boss fight isn't too difficult. It's the perfect primer for the real fight with the Yaksha King. Black Myth doesn't set out to be super punishing. Difficult game like Dark Souls. If they had, the Red Boy and the Yaksha King would be one entire fight. And we'd be forced to get good, and I honestly kind of wish they went that route. White-Clad Noble had 2 faces for Christ's sake, and forced me to get good. Here though, I got so many tools, and get a checkpoint, it's quite easy. Points for accessibility.
I've kept it in my stomach. Hidden from all.
Bull Demon King is the only one to have received a relic to not have used it for personal gain. Though he and Wukong didn't end on the best terms, he still remained loyal to his true brother. Not the version of him the court demanded. Dude's a real one.
Fear of my wife.
You and every other man out there.
You are your choices, your causes and effects, not what you're called.
The use of fate and destiny is just another form of control over those who worship and follow, but it's a sad version of survival. It's kind of what Sun Wukong is getting at when he whispered into Bull Demon King's ear in the cutscene. Now this is a real boss, not the oversized sunburnt baby. Peak boss design. I've just gotta let it be known that this is how close I got my second try on this dude. So rude, this man. Not just the design itself, but the actual fight. Nowhere is safe against him and demands you to be on him at all times. There's nowhere to hide. And we get electric guitar during his boss theme? What in the Dragon Force is this?
Along with our children, we will never leave the mountain again.
You can see the fear that Rakshasi has of the Destiny, solely based on what Wukong did. Monkey wasn't even trying to fight. Honestly, he's not overly aggressive. Everyone attacks him first, but because of the actions of Wukong, he must suffer the consequence.
That light lies in our submission, kneeling and begging.
Yaksha King falls into the category of villains doing the right thing the wrong way. He feels it's the same as Wukong, but we cheer for him and cheer for Yaksha. Rather die on his feet than live on his knees. Respect. Even with her son dying, she doesn't dare look back and rescind her offering out of fear of the Destined. This is also a direct recreation of what happened with Wukong and Rakshasi giving up the fan to him in Journey to the West. Wow, the slow contemplative music. The story here is tragic, as we will see in the ensuing cutscene. Not just once, but twice now, Wukong has destroyed the family of his sworn brother, Bold Demon King.
Sever our ties. If kinship means anything to you.
The music again, damn!
Your brother, I've disciplined. Your boy, I've given away. Your wife's fan. Today, I'll take it with me too.
His cadence with this calls back directly to the opening when he's speaking to Erlang.
Find a master and serve the right. It's the only path left for the likes of us.
Forced to do this by the court, he's trying to save his best bud. I think, just maybe, the celestial court should mind their damn business. If only Wukong could have followed his own advice.
Now I see. For someone like me, staying alive is enough to be a transgression.
How dare you have your own thoughts and freedoms? How dare you not fall in line with how we want you to live? Yeah, he's a bit of a rascal and cause problems, but who do you think pushed him to start acting up? Bold Demon King has granted Wukong's body relic, named Grieved Body. It's as if Erlang knew the pain that Bold Demon King was feeling and gave him the most physical reminder of Wukong.
Steer clear of my remains.
The only one he warned not to use his relics, as it was all part of the plan to come back, and he didn't want to have to fight Bold Demon King again.
A body hard as metal, meeting death in scores.
So we kind of blasted through chapter 4 and 5, and it'll be similar to most of 6. The game has a funny bell curve with the depth of its chapters. 5 is almost as linear as 1, with 6. We'll get to 6. I kind of like that though. It doesn't just drag and get longer and longer as we near the end. The court is finally sending the troops we saw at the start against us. Fuck this thing. It didn't take me too many tries, but damn, it was annoying. I gotta say that the creativity and the moveset was peak. Plus, this is probably the closest we get to a Najah boss fight in the game. Finally obtaining all but one relic and returning home, we get the Somersault Cloud! This area is pretty neat, though I understand the criticisms. First, I'm just amazed how well it runs, flying around the area and the freedom we're presented with. Like many action games like Black Myth, the end really just becomes a boss rush. So I don't entirely mind this. This is the end game. This chapter doesn't need to be another grand thematic bit of storytelling. It's almost a celebration of Journey to the West as we get to face down many different foes he faced in the novel without having to make it all make sense. Wukong scattered his gear around here, and only the one worthy of taking down these beasts deserves it. If he can do that, then he might just be the one. I get the frustration on how annoying it can be just flying around until you stumble upon a boss. Game Science does a great job having the land be distinct where each one is located. Or just having a giant cricket jump around, that's cool. And retrieving this final armor set is pretty badass. I don't mind that it's just kind of the strongest armor in the first playthrough. It feels like a victory lap, and it's honestly needed if we're gonna have any chance of defeating Erlang or the Broken Sage. We finally get to do the Wukong Classic and enter the belly of a beast. And instead, we're helping instead of harming. This is the real character growth for Wukong. But, great design for a boss area. Super creative, super gross. This is what I imagine is happening in my stomach during a violent hangover. And yeah, this area definitely feels like they were running out of time, but it doesn't feel like the focus of this chapter. Chapter 6 is really about preparing for the final fight versus Erlang and the Great Sage. This area provides the perfect proving ground for getting there. Fingers crossed for some cool DLC, but I imagine that Wukong is done, and they're moving on to their next Black Myth game, which I am here for. How badass that we get to see Wukong's staff in all of its 9-ton glory. When wielding it, it seems unassuming. I love seeing all the intricate detailing on it for this moment. And the Monkey King's throne. And Bajie just plops up there. Never change, Pigsy. Damn, you can really see Bajie missing his old friend. The Destined One is and isn't him. It's like trying to draw your grandparent with dementia of memories for just one moment of what it used to be like. The writing on the side translates to as you wish, gold banded cudgel, which is a funny way of saying, I'm gonna make this any size I want. Funny that we never just Thor's hammer this shit and lay it on people. Wukong is so back, baby!
Once you have this, there's no turning back.
AKA, if there's anything else you want to do in the game, do it now! Now, did you really think I was not going to get the secret ending for a game as great as Black Myth Wukong? Not covering this would be sacrilege. This is the true final boss in my eyes, and the Great Sage is the victory lap. He is, for sure, the hardest boss when it comes to fights, with all of our tools available. Boasting over 70 unique moves to learn and read. A shield that's a bitch unless you know how to tackle it, and the second best phase a game can offer you. And we can barely use transformations, not only to make the fight harder, but I see it as Erlang needs to see if the monkey himself is worthy of becoming Wukong. And like most of the final bosses, using the last vessel you acquire is the trick to beating them. we get the fan at the end of chapter 5, so it's not for the Yaksha King, it's for Erlang. I'm sure many of you know, fan plus Azure Dust plus Wandering White with key generation out of the ass is the key to making this fight doable. And even with all that, you gotta play your ass off. I finally found a boss that took me about the same time as Whiteclad Noble. A little over an hour, and quite the build retooling is what it took me to take down Erlang, and I loved every second of it. He's tough, but fair. Great hitboxes and readable moves that makes it feel like a true dance between the greatest warriors. Returning back to the start in bird form, with the reversal of us chasing Erlang this time, showing our control of the fight. And our Wukong is able to counter the move that got him last time! The absolute fucking scale of this. Just look at the mountains underneath this. This is why Chinese myth is so fucking god tier, my god. Erlang is still a bro, allowing the Destined One to get used to this final boss form of Wukong to spar with the Heavenly Kings to make sure this is the right guy. Shown through gameplay as we get more and more abilities as the fight progresses. Crazy. Insane that the game signs hit the true final battle behind all the obsession quests. Our revenge for the start of the game was likely missed by so many people. We are allowed to miss things! Wukong doesn't have any special weapons, no armor, nothing. Just harnessing the elements and returning to stone. Okay. As he was born from stone, this is a callback to that. I've heard criticism that this is just a playable cutscene. Drags on too long. It isn't a satisfying second phase. And to that I say, were we watching the same thing? This is the most badass shit ever. Just punching the shit out of the 4 Heavenly Kings, mountain size. Like, come on. Can't things be cool for cool's sake? Because this is the definition of sauce. The people below gotta be looking up like... This last guy has got to be saying to himself, I'm sorry.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Do I understand all of this? No. Have I tried? Yes. Does it really matter at the end of the day? No. Why is there a flaming sword out of the sky? Why is he a lion guy? Doesn't matter. So cool. I love it. They're funny. Making us think we failed and died. There is no killer Wukong! And to finally end it, bro makes a staff out of the earth. That damn smile, he knows.
I'm now at peace. Your journey, though, has just begun.
Erlang was a bro the whole time! And also sequel baiting? And a new weapon with new animations. Feels weird using a spear's monkey, though. This is about the closest game signs could get to you just destroying the entire court's army without pouring a shit ton of resources into creating its own boss fight. Inside Wukong's egg is perpetual twilight. I like that better than just sunset because the sun isn't setting on Wukong. It never can. But the real definition of the word I think is perfect. Obscurity, ambiguity, gradual decline. They fit what the Broken Sage is, if and when Wukong will return.
Laying his eyes on, then craving to seize their riches. Ears fume at unfavorable news. Nose in the air, feeling above others. Those who talk much of love will one day bite their tongues. They yearn for freedom, yet aspire to Buddhahood.
We get a little story by the old monkey, going over each of the relics, why they were chosen as the pieces of him to be split off, and the importance of it. He kind of just lays it all out for us. Each of the relics were mistakes that held Wukong back from achieving enlightenment, so it was left to the Destined One to retrieve them and right these. It could be very telly if it wasn't the final 20 minutes of the game and written so tactfully, hinting at the fact that many other Destined Ones have failed and just takes the Broken Shell's place.
Me laugh. Him? He is Wukong?
Yes and no.
He's Wukong's body devoid of his mind, memories, and all their senses, thus making him yes and no. It's crazy how my first playthrough, I felt so lost and confused by everything, but after deep diving to create this video, Everything is clear as day and amazingly crafted. Taking the story and retelling it this way, offering it up as a sequel and a retelling, is nothing short of incredible. It's kind of like its own reincarnation of Journey to the West.
You must cast aside his soulless shell and merge the six into one. Then you shall be the one.
You might recognize this motif. This is lifted from the 1986's Journey to the West theme. Game Science knows where they came from.
The shell and merge the six into one. Then you shall be the one to begin the journey anew.
His very own Journey to the West.
Hear me, son! You can always run! You don't have to bear Wukong's name!
Oh, Bajie, fearing that he's going to lose another best friend. Brother. Son. This final area is just gorgeous. What more can I say? You know I just had to do Stone Monkey v Stone Monkey. There's no way I wasn't going to get this satisfaction. The fake out that we just got to defeat the Stone Monkey and become Wukong is pretty great. The fight isn't all that, but it still would have been a satisfying end. Defeating the form that we just used to take on Erlang and the Heavenly Kings? The form that birthed Sun Wukong? But Game Science was like,
but wait! There's more!
and they lay it on thick that this is it. And right here it seems we just took the free mind relic. Notice how all our clones follow suit, just like in the gameplay when you get the free mind relic. The blocking of us now flipping sides with Stone Monkey and taking Wukong's place. Badass, 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 kind of scary, badass. This is what I wanted! Oh my god, we fight ourselves! What I love about this fight is how we all know his moves already.
Of course I know him. He's me.
This fight is just a test to see how well we really know ourselves. If we can't defeat Wukong, when I've been using these moves for the last 30 hours, I don't think I deserve to take on his name. To be on the receiving end of a perfect dodge, I feel dumbfounded, flabbergasted, bamboozled. I get why now it's so effective. This also felt really cool, mirroring the fight that had just taken place. First person? I can't imagine. Oh, only a second of silhouettes fighting? Come on, that was beautiful center framing. Strips us of all our relics, which actually takes them away in gameplay too. To then see him take the Wukong stance after, I can't with this game. My god, is Wukong actually terrifying. Not just because scary mean face. What the hell are like normal guys to do against this cudgel? Like what the hell? Even he's gonna charge up his heavy attacks. He may be a badass too, but he ain't cheating. What the fuck? He is cheating. Only I could do that. Steals our motherfucking gourd too. Even the broken shell still has a bit of theatrics of Wukong in him. Beats the shit out of us, yawns bored, and gives us back our staff like a badass to keep the fight going. Dude, Wukong is my new favorite. He wants to be bested in a fair fight, but isn't gonna hand it to him. Oh yeah? I got one of those too! Ah, I wish we got a somersault cloud move. You can't script this shit. This is exactly how close the fight would have been canonically. No mana, no gourds, no transform, one health. Oh my god, what an amazing final fight. The spectacle, the ego radiating off him, the music, the scenery, no notes. So in the normal ending, if you don't defeat Erlang, Old Monkey places the ban on our head and we take the place of the broken shell in a very Dark Souls fashion. We begin the cycle anew and it's up to the next Destined One to attempt to revive the Wukong, thus failing achieving enlightenment. And if we do, we see with a little smirk that Wukong is back. Memories and senses and awe and rejects the band, thus fully reincarnating Wukong. We didn't resurrect him, and we aren't just him all over again. We are and aren't Wukong. We are and aren't the Destined One anymore. By the end, we are a Wukong ship of Theseus. The final cutscene we get is a retelling of all of Journey to the West, starting with the beginning of this game going in reverse order. I like to see this as the Destined One remembering everything that got him to this moment, as we might recall the oldest memories last. And again with that theme.
Bottoms up, brothers! One final toast before we crash the Celestial Palace!
So that first one was Wukong before, and this is now our Wukong, the Destined One. Seeing the destruction of all his demon brothers, he's once again taking the fight back to the Celestial Court. This music is somber for his fallen comrades, but also maybe because it's alluded that the Destined One has learned nothing from Wukong's failings and is still bound to retread the same path. But we don't know. The game of Chapter 6 is unfinished, either setting up a sequel or just letting us enjoy this story, but knowing that the Destined One is going to finish what Wukong started in the opening cutscene and just leaving it at that. Or I am wrong and this is just the real Wukong leading towards the start of the game, which would further imply the endless cycle that he is in and speak to the constant battle that achieving enlightenment is. This game was nothing short of incredible. I completely understand why I did win Game of the Year, but I'm damn glad it was in the running. From the cultural significance, the utter amount of research that it must have taken to get all these things right about the story, to have all the little hints, nods, and Easter eggs embedded in a somewhat new take on Journey to the West is incredible. It exposed me and a buttload of other people to this amazing tale that the game only scratched the surface of. I immediately want to go out and buy all 4 novels and start reading through them after this video because it's just that damn good. Black Myth Wukong does a masterful job of retelling Journey to the West without retelling Journey to the West, if that makes sense. You can go through this whole game with no context, only half paying attention, and still have a great time. I sure did my first time through. But when you start peeling back the layers, understanding the symbolism, the themes, messaging, and meaning of it all, it takes on a whole new life. Going through it with all the context just made me appreciate the game more and even more impressed by it. Here you can see a game where the people that made it truly cared and loved what they were talking about. It makes me really excited to see what the studio has planned next, because whatever it is, I'm on board. I normally just play through the game's main story and talk about that as it's the bulk of what people know, understand, and expect me to cover. Doing all the side content and games, too, would be far too big of an undertaking. You guys have seen my upload schedule. You get it. But this game? It made me curious. I didn't want to just get through it. Black Myth Wukong is a game that demands your attention and time in a way that you just lose yourself in the game. I would blink and 6 hours would have passed, and I wanted to keep going. It's been a long time since a single-player game has done that for me. I wanted to investigate around every invisible wall to make sure I got the secret ending and gave this game the time of day it deserved. I still feel that I've underrepresented it. I urge you to read up on Journey to the West and expose yourself to this story and others like it. Though this game isn't as special when it comes to gameplay and mechanics, I believe it's special because it's greater than the sum of its parts. I could have made this video easily into 2-3 hours long. We don't have half a year for that. So I encourage you to go check out other people's videos covering this game. There are so many out there gushing just like me and informing the everything that is this game. I tried my best to explain and understand the story and messaging here, but tackling something as big as Buddhism as a Westerner with no prior knowledge of it felt quite insurmountable. I hope I did a decent enough job breaking down some of it and didn't make too many mistakes. If I did, please leave comments down below. I'd love to read them because this game was a fun time. But I also got to learn with it, grow with it, and how many games can you say that for? It took me far too long to cover this game, and I'm so glad I have now. I hope you guys enjoyed this epic hour-long video, and as always, drive the speed limit, some water, and love one another. Pizza.